So let's assume that you are trying to add up two negative integers. Okay, so say you're trying to add up two negative integers and you say you have 7 and you're trying to add that with -7 and you're trying to add that with a -2. Okay, and you'd like to know what exactly that equals, right? You'd like to say that maybe that's a value x. And if you remember from a previous video, right, what I said was is we can represent these as dots at 1 for every unit, right? And we said that orange dots were negative units, and we said that green dots were positive units. So I have right now for this 7, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. And then I'm going to add in, so I'm going to add to this set, I'm going to add 1, 2 more negative dots, right? And if we count those up, right, our set that's left over, we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Should have -9 as our answer because we have 9 dots. All of them are negative units. But let's say that instead of trying to add things together, let's say that we're trying to subtract two numbers, okay? And in particular, let's say we're trying to subtract a negative number, all right? So let's say instead of this -7 plus -2, let's say that we're going to do -7 minus -2. So let's do -7 minus -2, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm still going to represent this first -7 as the -7 dots, right? So I'm gonna keep this going. So we have 1, 2, 3, and let's pair these up. 4, 5, 6, and then we have 7, right? And we're gonna change things up just a little bit. Okay, we're gonna change things up just a little bit because I'm not adding things anymore. I'm now subtracting -2. I'm trying to get rid of -2. Okay. And that changes things a bit because rather than adding to this set of dots, I'm actually going to take away from this set of dots. All right. I'm going to take away from this set of dots. And so I've got this -7 minus -2. I'm going to take away those -2 dots, those two -2 dots. And what I'm left over with are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negative dots, okay, left over. So if I take -7 and I'd subtract a -2, right, I'm actually going to end up with a -5. I'm almost adding +2, right? So I'm almost adding in +2, like as if I took these two dots and I paired them up, say, with a green, right? I took that -7 and I added in those two dots, right? And I paired them up like this, right? I'd still be left over with 5 negative dots. Okay. Now, again, not all the time are you going to get numbers this easy. Sometimes you're going to have numbers in the hundreds or the thousands, or maybe you'll have it in the millions, right? There's an easier way to do this. All right. And what you're going to notice is if you do this with a bunch of different problems, all right, when you're subtracting integers, so to subtract integers, okay, and that means positive and negative numbers, right? Integers, you need to add. Let me do that better. You need to add. Okay, add its opposite. Add its opposite. Okay, add its opposite, and then you're going to follow the same rules for combining integers. Follow rules for combining. Follow rules for combining integers. Okay. So let's take another example. Let's say that we had, why don't we do -5? Let's do -5, and then we're going to subtract this -2. Okay. And again, obviously, you're using, two negatives here. You can do this with positive and negative integers too, but I'm going to show you at least to start here. All right, and again, we're going to take, let's do this together so we can kind of figure out if we're doing this right. We have -5, right? -5 dots here, and I'm going to take away -2, right? So I'm going to take away 2 dots that represent -2. So here I am left over with -3 or 3 dots. Now let's see if this rule works, right? To subtract integers, add its opposite. So 2 -5, right? Or I'm going to take just this 5, right? Okay, this -5, and I'm going to add 2 to 5 instead, right? So let's do that over here. So I have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to add in, let's use green, right? So this is +2 now instead, right? I'm going to take that +2. I'm going to add in +2, and I'm going to, just like last time, pair off these guys. I'm going to cancel them out, and I'm still left with a -3. Okay, so we know that -5 minus -2 is the same thing as -3. Okay, let's try another one. So let's say that you had 3 and you wanted to subtract a -6. Okay, subtract the -6, and you'd like to know that what it is. Well, you've got 3 and you're subtracting a negative, so you're going to add the opposite, right? I'm going to add the opposite, so I'm going to add a +6, right? So rather than subtracting a -3, or a -6, excuse me, I'm going to add a +6, right? And then I'm going to follow those same rules. So 3 plus 6 gives me 9. Okay. Now, you can also kind of think of this as if you were on a number line, right? So let's take a number line, and let's say that it went from, I don't know, let's say we did this. So let's graph out this 3 minus -6 thing. Okay, so I've got 0 in the middle, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, and we'll make this -10, and we'll make this +10. All right. And let's say that we plot this 3 here. Let's use a different color. Let's use 3. And we're going to start here, right, at 3, right? 0, 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to either take away, right, -6, or I'm going to add in a +6, right? So I'm going to start here. If I take away -6s, right? If I take away -6s, if I'm moving in the negative direction, I'm going this way, right? I'm going over here towards this -10. If I'm adding in negatives, I'm going to be moving. I'm going to get more negative. I'm going to move this way. If I'm taking away negatives, right, I'm going to move in the positive direction. If I think about it, if you have a bank account and you have $3, and then someone says, "Hey, I'm actually going to, or what? Yeah, it's $3, and I'm going to take away, -$6 out of your bank account. I'm going to take those out, right? You take away that empty space or that void, you're adding in more money. He's giving you money. Okay. So if you take that 3 and you add in a +6, right? If I add in a +6, that's going to make me hop once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and then 6 times, right? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? And I'll end up here at +9. Okay. So when you are hopping, right, or if you're using this method, this is what this looks like. All right. Let's try one more just to make sure we got it. Okay. Let's say that we had -8, and they asked you to subtract a -1. Okay. Now I encourage you to take a second and try to solve this on your own. So assuming that you have, again, I'm going to draw this using dots just so that we are being consistent. I've got -8, so I've got 4 on the top, 4 on the bottom, 8 total dots that represent 8 negative units, right? You can think of like maybe protons and electrons, right, in a molecule or something. And then I'm going to take away one of those dots, right? I'm going to take away one of those dots that represents a -1, right? So I'm going to just take one of those away, and I'm left with 7 dots, 7 negative dots, okay? We can double check our work. We said that this was the same thing as adding the opposite. So rather than doing -8 minus -1, right, I can also say that this is -8 plus 1. And that should also equal x, right? And if we do the same thing here, we still have those 8 dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I'm also going to have this +1, okay, because remember that negative dots are orange, positive dots are green. And if I add in those dots, we have to pair those off, right? So we're going to take those two and pair them off, and we're going to count what's left over. And again, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 negative dots.